Hey everybody, here we are. This is the Canary Cry News Talk live stream pre-stream. Just about to get the show started, lining everything up here. Let's see, I don't see it. The room was opened up early on YouTube there. Okay, there's the YouTubers. We got Dadalorian, Warrior Chick Jan. We had Ellie in the pre-room. Marty K is in the pre-room. We got all sorts of people here. Let's see, Mark S. Hello. All right, I am going to send the text message now. Go text message. Go ride like the wind and bring the Canarians to the show. There we go. Now, if you're here now, you probably got some sort of notification, but that doesn't always happen. You know, you don't always get the notifications. It's been clear that the big tech media, they are not very excited about sharing us with the world, or simply even letting people know we exist when they specifically ask to be alerted. So what you can do is join the Canary Cry text message alert program by texting the word Canary to 877-740-3226. That's Canary to 877-740-3226, and you'll get a text right before every live show. You can text that number back, and I can't hold a conversation with you because it's very expensive, but I see your messages. Somebody here texted, "Congratulations on all your hard work, Basil. It's impressive." Well, thank you very much. Patience. Somebody says here, "Wowies, I got your text, Basil, after months of waiting." I'm unfortunately not surprised to hear that. It's, like everything, there are phone companies who are not letting our messages through, but signing up is the first step. I'm always working on something on the back end to try to let them know that we are not pestering people, that you sign up. Let's see here. I'm seeing, oh, sorry, Basil, listening to KJ's Uncensored Show on Rumble right now. Who's KJ? Who am I thinking? Is it AJ?
Scariest movie ever.
KJ. Oh, scariest movie ever. Oh, I got it. Let's see here. A couple people had their I'm driving notifications on. Thank you. All right, see, there you go, folks. You can text me back and I'll see it. So text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. Okay, folks, let's... We'll get the show started here in a second after a short word from our wonderful sponsors.
Razzle Dazzle, it's your best buddies Basil and Guns. Your favorite podcasters are at it again. Well, at least until the bunnies break free. Support value for value and think outside the cage with Canary Cry News Talk.
Are you tired of advertisers trying to make you an offer you cannot refuse? Then support value for value with your best buddies, Basil and Guns, and Canary Cry News Talk.
Because it takes years of specialized training to watch adorable samurai babies. Join the CCNT Babysitter Club today and support value for value.
No prayer today, just a gentle reminder from Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gons as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Crime News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is January 10th, 2024. We are live to tape on episode 705. And today, GENSLER GAFFE. And signing on from Off the Grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy Basil, and you are not crazy.
And my name is Gons, director of the Age of Deceit films, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Live to tape from still cold, California, to bring you the best news, the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events and today's emergent phenomena. Why, Gary? Why? That is all.
Did you forget to get
there was not a whole lot of thought that went
and just thought of that real quick?
There was not a whole lot of thought. There's a lot of moving parts with the new software.
Feels like
here, so
maybe just why just
why?
The singular why. So many questions coming up
that's
today,
true.
Guns.
But I'm sure Gary's behind a lot of it.
Gary is
opinion.
like the least interesting mystery that has been presented in the past couple days. Certainly mysterious. Of course, we're talking about the Defense Secretary Gary Gensler. We'll talk about that
that's not
later.
The Defense Secretary.
No, sorry, the SEC guy.
Yeah, the commissioner
but
of the
yes.
SEC. Yes.
Well, that was almost like a little heads up on the show to come.
Yeah,
But first, let's give a
toes.
quick disclaimer and get the ball rolling here.
It's time for a disclaimer.
Now listen up, YouTube.
That's right, and just for all the content moderators and censorship managers out there, be they robots or humans, everything you hear on this show comes directly from the mainstream corporate news media. We do not claim to be experts on healthcare, geopolitics, military strategy, corporate law, or the moral and ethical implications of any of these topics, nor do we implicitly or explicitly support or subscribe to any sources or narratives containing misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation, as defined by the Department of Homeland Security. We're good boys. All right, YouTube, we're good boys.
Did I lose you? Basil? I think Basil has frozen.
My whole thing went into quite the freeze state during the disclaimer.
Yeah, you
but
were frozen.
Luckily, I
you
know
were
the disclaimer. Am I still frozen?
No, you're not anymore. Am
I lagging a little bit? It feels like I'm lagging a little bit.
Maybe it's possible. Yeah, you turned into Han Solo for a moment. You were completely frozen. It was sad.
Oh, yeah, that's good. All right, well, let me give you a rundown.
Oh, look, here's Basil.
Let me bring you up to speed.
We called it, folks, yet another example of a prediction or a comment from just about a month ago about the incursion of occult experts making their way onto the mainstream news legacy media. We'll be talking about Fox and their dabbling. They're dabbling in the dark arts live on television. And then, of course, we cannot get through a show without exploring the strangeness going on in tunnels beneath New York City. It's not the Ninja Turtles, but perhaps there's some crime fighting going on. Then, with Flippy, Flippy, our beloved robotic arm, is making its way into your home in an unexpected way, and we're receiving the message loud and clear. Then Gons will be bringing us his thoughts and the details regarding the SEC's announcement that the Bitcoin ETF is approved, and then the subsequent snowballing of madness after that. Quick mention about Lloyd Austin, sorry, brain brain froze. I'm having a hard
A lot
time
of freezing today. It's
separating
cold. It is
Gensler
cold.
and Austin.
Yeah.
Lloyd Austin just had a little holiday, just a little alone time in the hospital. Just didn't tell anybody. Yes, that's the defense secretary, and with all the things going on in the world, he didn't find it important to let anybody know. Then at the end of the show, Nephilim update. You're going to love it. But first, Guns, our lead stories.
Yeah, the one's black, one's white, Basil. Just to keep it simple for you, you know?
I don't see color, Guns.
I understand
Sorry.
that.
I'm
trying to
I
help
don't
you.
subscribe to your racist views about people being different colors.
Yeah, it is witchcraft.
This girl must be practicing witchcraft.
Yes. So, once again, folks, we called it, and we're just gonna keep on calling it. For those who don't know, after the announcement of the University of Exeter's master's program in the occult and magic, it was obvious to me that this meant there was a soon-to-come industry of psyops, basically. You know, they don't make a new industry without having a plan for how it can be deployed in the power structure. And in this case, propaganda psyops is the perfect place for experts in witchcraft and wizardry. Well, this is the second time that this has happened in the past couple weeks, Gons. But why don't we just let our friends over at Fox tell us exactly why they decided to do a live tarot reading on air about what to expect this next year.
Here we go. I'm trying out new things here, so let's see if it works.
Paula Roberts is the English psychic who is on set to give us a reading right now. I would like, Paula, for you to give me a reading on President Trump.
Just the one card?
One card.
One card. Let's do just one card. We like that one.
The card is coming.
Uh-oh. What is that?
I mean, I do recognize that I'm at Fox TV. I am a sense of loss. A sense of loss. But it's very specific.
It's the death card.
Yeah. Let me move on. It's a sense of loss. It's as if he may be thinking more about what he's lost and not still taking full advantage of what he still has.
That's a great interpretation, Paula.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I don't make it up.
Let's see President Joe Biden. What will his year look like?
Let's look at Joe Biden. Lots and lots and lots and lots of money. Lots of money. I mean,
from China?
Oh, you are cheeky.
Cheeky.
I didn't say from where.
Lots of money.
A lot of money.
Is very interesting.
I mean, above, okay, for whatever is his normal, it's way above. That's when I say lots.
Wow.
Because I deal with everybody of every possible income, so that's a lot.
All right, I'm going to put you in touch with James Comer after this reading. Please tell us what America should be looking for in 24.
Great happiness.
Yes.
Great happiness. I mean, that's just full of joy, happiness, contentment. I mean, it's as, I tell you, it's a funny way of putting it. It's as big as the money card is.
Ooh.
It's big.
Big.
Big, big happy.
Big happy.
Big happy.
It's a big happy year for America.
Yes,
it's a big happy year for Jesse Waters Primetime. It's a big year for you, Paula. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for asking me. I do appreciate it.
We're going to take this to the bank, shall we?
Oh, absolutely.
Paula Roberts is the English.
Sorry.
I did not know how much I don't care for Jesse Waters until this clip. I'd not watched a whole lot of Jesse Waters. There's just something about him. He's kind of got a Gavin Newsom vibe to him. Over
Very
there on
plastic,
Fox.
little hollow.
But there you go. Not only was it a psychic doing a tarot reading live on air about Trump, Biden, we did cut out a little bit about some Jesse Waters card pulling there, which was boring and stupid. Jesse, don't do it again. But so we got
Biden
occult
and
experts.
myself.
Yeah, occult experts being brought on as kind of like analysis from another realm. This is now the second time we've seen this in just a couple of weeks, and I think we're going. We didn't do our 2024 predictions, Gons.
We did not.
Usually we do that. We didn't do it this time, and I was gonna put the occult experts on mainstream television. I'm sorry, on mainstream news, but it's like it doesn't even count anymore because it already did
happened.
it. Like when it first happened, they brought that occult guy on PBS. You could make a case for like
you keep saying PBS with another thing we did, but
was it NPR? I thought it was PBS. Doesn't
No.
matter. They're the exact same thing.
They're
Guns.
pretty much the same.
Not even worth the
Just
breath
trying
it
to be
takes to
accurate.
separate
Just
them
trying
out.
to be accurate.
But, somebody could say that wasn't quite as on the nose. But here you go. A tarot expert drawing cards on the 2024 election. Trump drawing the death card, a sense of loss. Biden pulling the money card. And America as a whole pulling the big happy card.
Big happy.
I think it's interesting how, also, just a connection to make, it wasn't a British and English psychic, and the clue that we were given that this would start happening was because of an English famous college, an English university was the one who produced the masters there, so a little connection there as well. But yeah, very strange times, Gons. Very strange times. We almost needed a tarot card reader to go on Fox last year to tell us that there would be a tarot card reader on Fox this year. It's quite bizarre. Of course, BuzzFeed jumped on this and had a headline. Fox News had a tarot card reader predict Donald Trump's 2024, and I'm pretty sure it didn't go as planned. The implication there that the whole thing was sort of staged, I think it is quite possible that it was entirely staged. The cards were selected, perhaps even by producers, because there's still this sort of like assumption in a lot of places like BuzzFeed that Fox wants Trump to win. Fox does not care about Trump. They only want Trump to win in as far as he can make them a bunch of money. But they are famously had periods of time where they are extremely anti-Trump. So, it's kind of annoying to see that piece of propaganda, that little psyop still worming its way in. But yeah, Gons, what do you think? Death card for Trump.
There were some people in the chat saying that it was not the death card, it was the loss card. I don't know if it's the same thing. I'm not 100%. I'm double checking here to make sure.
From what I have heard and from what I have written, that first of all, that I'm almost positive that was the death card. Is a guy, is a Grim Reaper man in a black robe.
Yeah, although
death can be interpreted. So the death card doesn't mean this guy's going to die. It is often,
I understand,
sort of, what am I trying to say?
I don't know, but there's
translated, but I can't think of the word. That's a bummer. But it's often
associated with,
meant to say not death,
but loss.
Loss or something like that.
There's a grief card, and the image on the grief card looks more, or at least this version of it that I found here, looks more like the card that she was showing, which has I think actually it is the grief card. It's exactly the grief card. Let me go back to
card. Let me look it up.
Yeah, here it is. The grief card.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Designed to increase your Okay, the 5. Oh, there's 5 cups is the classic card of grieving. Here, a figure wears a black coat, is in mourning mode, sorrow, or loss. So yeah, I don't think it's the death card, Basil.
Okay, yeah, grief card. Okay, so yeah.
And if we go back, it's if you look a little closer to the actual card that she pulled, it was the grief card. He's wearing the black robe, but it's not.
Oh yeah,
the Grim
no,
Reaper.
It's obviously exactly the same, guys.
Yeah,
you found it. You've solved the mystery.
We did it.
What? We should look up those other cards that it was. She didn't actually say. I thought it was a little strange.
Yeah, it was strange.
She never said the cards out loud. So I don't even know what to look up. I think one of them had the 9 of Swords, if I remember correctly, but we might need to find it on the video. I don't know if it's worth doing.
Well, I don't think so either. I think I guess a bigger point is the connection with Trump and tarot cards in general. We always reference the Economist cover from 2017, or I think it was late 2016, Planet Trump, with the 8 tarot cards on the cover, different scenarios with Trump sort of, I don't know, he's in one of them. He's in the Judgment one. I don't know if he's, explicitly in the other ones, but in that one, there is a death card, and it's the nuke going off and the Grim Reaper on a white horse. And the whole deal,
well, that's a very interesting part about this whole thing is Trump has repeatedly been sort of connected to tarot cards and tarot readings throughout the recent history.
Very strange. I don't know. I mean, is that part of his 5D chess? Is like have sort of the. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody in his group, not group, but like his I don't know, his team or something is into something like that, and especially if they have close relationships with a certain other country that does similar types of things for politics. So. Yeah, I'm being a little Cody, huh? It's okay.
You lost me, buddy. But
no, it's
I'm
okay
because
it relates to the next story we're going to do.
Well, hold on, real quick, just to have it straight. Yanina in the YouTube chat pointed out that the grief card is officially called the 5 of Cups, just for all those tarot heads out there, of which there are not 0 listening to this show. It's the 5 of Cups.
5 of Cups. Okay, is that like the 5th? Bowl judgment? What's the
no
fifth
idea?
Bowl?
No idea how that whole thing works.
But now I'm curious what the 5th bowl judgment is. All right. Anything else?
Again, no idea what you're talking about, Gons.
Well, there are 5 cups. 5 cups. 5th bowl.
Yeah, but why are you
judgment?
saying bowl?
Because a cup is a bowl.
But what? We're moving on. There's other crazy stuff going on. Folks, if any of you out there knows what Gons is talking about, please email me.
Everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Okay.
All right. Okay, well, let's move on anyway. We're going to talk a little bit about this other weird thing going on here.
Kabbalah.
Kabbalah is a belief system that predates religion.
Kabbalah.
It's incredibly scientific.
Scientist!
All right, this is coming from AP, and this is all over the place. A secret tunnel in a New York City synagogue leads to a brawl between police and worshipers.
Yeah, very strange story. Very confusing, very strange. I think this happened, yesterday, maybe the day before? Yeah. Tell us about it.
Here's what it says. A historic Brooklyn synagogue that serves as the center of an influential Hasidic Jewish movement was trashed this week during an unusual community dispute that began with the discovery of a secret underground tunnel and ended in brawl between worshipers and police. The conflict erupted in the global headquarters of the Chabad, or is it Chabad? Chabad. I can't remember exactly what it said. Chabad Lubavitch movement in Crown Heights, a deeply revered Jewish site that each year receives thousands of visitors, including international students and religious leaders and celebrities and politicians and, all kinds of stuff. Just because it mentioned it, I'll just reference it now real quick. There's a 2020 article, and a bunch of people had it. Ivanka Trump visits tomb of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, which is Schneerson, Rabbi Schneerson. We'll talk about him in a second.
Right.
As election nears. This was back in 2020. So interesting that the Schneerson is brought up, in the context of election year. His name is in the headlines again, or at least his church there. So it's something to keep in mind. It's a Gothic revival facade, immediately recognizable to adherents of the Chabad movement, has inspired dozens of replicas across the world. But on Tuesday, the synagogue remained closed off by police barricades as New York City building safety agents inspected whether a tunnel dug without official permission may have caused structural damage to the famed property. Officials and locals said young men in the community recently built the passage to the sanctuary in secret. When the group's leader tried to seal it off Monday, they staged a protest that turned violent as police moved in to make arrests. Okay, so there's some underground tunnel that these young hooligans created, and the head people at the synagogue tried to shut it off, actually block it off.
Well,
the kids rebelled.
Well, no, not quite. That's not quite how it went. So as the story goes, now there's a lot of reading to be done about this story, folks. So I'm gonna try to summarize it a little bit from reading a few articles about it. During COVID, the the synagogue was shut down in New York. You weren't allowed to go to synagogue, much like a lot of churches and other religious things during the lockdown. They were sort of locked out of the synagogue. And so allegedly, this group of, I don't have the word right in front of me, but they use the sort of Jewish word or Hasidic word for young unmarried bachelor. A group of these young unmarried bachelors had allegedly dug a tunnel from their sort of dormitory building into the synagogue. And it also included a tunnel that went to the female dormitory building. So there's these weird, strange secret tunnels that allegedly the explanation is that it was during COVID so they could go to the synagogue secretly while they're during lockdown. These are the explanations being given. I don't have any insight into what is fact or fiction, but that's what was described. And actually, the tunnel was found when construction crews were putting in a water main or fixing a water main on the street, and they sort of accidentally found the tunnel. They dug into the tunnel while fixing some water lines, and then basically the city was bringing in a cement truck. They found a mysterious tunnel, brought in a cement truck to fill the tunnels with cement, like you do. But then the young unmarried bachelors were very upset about this and staged sort of a sit-in. So if the city was going to fill it up with cement, you would be burying a bunch of Jewish young men, which is sort of an unsavory thing to do in New York. And so the cops were called in. It was only after the cops were called in that panels started getting ripped off the side of the synagogue to expose the tunnel. And yes, you watch the videos of these young Jewish men defending their tunnel. They are like fighting. They are brawling with the cops. This is not like, what in the world? Like, if you dig a secret tunnel, you're a young college-age guy. You can look, I went to college, and a bunch of college-age guys get together. You're gonna dig some tunnels. That's just what college-age men do.
I explored some tunnels.
That's what
my university.
Me too.
Yeah.
You know, young college-age guys, they dig tunnels.
Now that I think about it, you and I might have been in the same we might be talking about the same tunnel.
I'm telling you, this is a normal part of American college life. Is you dig and inhabit tunnels. At least for the young men. There might be ladies out there who are completely confused, but all of the men know what I'm talking about. And it might be metaphorical tunnels, might be literal tunnels, but digging tunnels as a young college-age man is a totally, maybe not normal, but it is an average thing to do.
Yeah.
So, the question is why were these here? And, you know, we could believe that it was a tunnel to go to the synagogue when they were on lockdown. It gets a little strange, though, when they start fighting to defend the tunnels, as if it's some sort of like ideological sacred thing.
Well, that's kind of how the AP article starts to frame them. So this is interesting. I'll continue reading here. The passageway is believed to have started in the basement of an empty apartment building behind the headquarters, snaking under a series of offices and lecture halls before eventually connecting to the synagogue, according to Mati Seligson, a spokesperson for Kabbalah. He characterized its construction, the tunnel, as a rogue act of vandalism committed by a group of misguided young men, condemned the, quote, extremists who broke through the wall to the synagogue, vandalizing the sanctuary in an effort to preserve the unauthorized access. He went there. He called them extremists. I think that's
right.
Very
Is
interesting.
this the leader? This is the leader of the place.
The place, yeah.
Yeah. So that was another strange thing, too, that I think deserves to be sort of contemplated. Immediately, the leaders of this Jewish headquarters came out and
Wouldn't you
sort
know
of
about a tunnel.
Yeah, they kind of phrased it like, "Oh, thank goodness the police came. We thank the cooperation of law enforcement to shut down this crazy secret tunnel that we totally didn't know anything about."
Yeah, well, that's it's shady to throw the young men under the bus in that regard. You know.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what's shady about it per se, but it does feel a little strange that it feels like maybe they're shifting some blame here.
Yeah.
And they can't officially be connected to these tunnels, but who knows? Maybe they're not. I don't know. Feels weird, though.
Those who supported the tunnel, meanwhile, said they were carrying out an, quote, expansion plan long envisioned by the former head of the Chabad movement, Rebbe Menachem Mendel Schneerson.
Schneerson, yes. This is an interesting part of the story.
Schneerson led the Chabad, I'm sorry, I'm saying that wrong, Chabad Lubavitch for more than 4 decades before his death in 1994, reinvigorating a Hasidic religious community that had been devastated by the Holocaust. And what they don't say here is his influence of Kabbalah. He was a big-time Kabbalah guy. Supporters of the expansion said the basement synagogue had long been overcrowded, prompting a push to annex additional space that some in the community felt was taking too long. Many of those supporters subscribe to the messianic belief that Schneerson is still alive. Which, you know, I was talking to you about this beforehand, and you were kind of like, yeah, most other religions have that.
Yeah, there's
So
always some sect of religions that have some that stuff.
Right. But I don't recall it. Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking out of terms here. I'm not for certain, but it seems interesting that they're young 20-something-year-olds or 19, 20, 21, and they're into this thing. Like that doesn't happen without some kind of elderly folk leading the way. You know, these kids just don't. I mean, if they do, then somebody's guiding them.
You know, this is an interesting thing because these are Hasids. They're Hasidic Jews, which, of course, this has. I don't know, the coverage of this, the PSYOP aspect, I'm not really sure yet because it doesn't look great. The optics are not great, especially sort of linking the concept of, Jews digging tunnels compared to what's going on in Gaza. Like, the optics are really not great. But considering, Hasids generally are not Zionist. In fact, they're kind of strictly anti-Zionist. That's why they're fairly unpopular across the board right now, is because they don't believe that the Jewish scriptures allow for the Jewish people to even have a place of their own. They kind of believe that the diaspora was kind of God's plan, and the Jews spreading out throughout the earth is kind of meant to preserve it and things like this. So it's hard to, the part of the PSYOP, if there is one, at least while it's being covered, is connecting this in any way to Israel is actually kind of not, it's not an obvious thing to do. But of course, a lot of the mainstream and casual readers don't know these types of details.
Well, I think the more fascinating part is simply the fact that they have the messianic belief that Schneerson is still alive. In a sense, an expectation, like a messianic expectation, and that's something that can be very much exploited at the very least, and perhaps used for much more nefarious reasons if any of the scriptures and time scriptures has anything to say about it. So that's what's strange to me, and we'll see how the public is being shaped somehow to feel a certain way about these young hooligans, these rascals, extremists, even within their Jewish ranks. So
there's almost no reason. There's almost no reason to call them extremists. Like, what's extreme? They dug a tunnel. Is that the extreme thing? What other thing makes them extreme? I don't really know. Maybe they have some unusual religious beliefs, but hey, don't we all, depending on the perspective. There has been some interesting details dug up by ex-users or whatever. A ex-user, Kyle Undercover, did whatever sort of I don't know what to call it, snooping he did, and claims that these tunnels also went to the children's museum, a local children's museum.
Well, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, so there is
especially
like
with
a
the
lot
history of some of the, the Kabbalistic philosophy, some of the rituals and stuff that they've allegedly practiced. We don't want to make any accusations.
Well,
per
I mean,
se,
the Kabbalah connection is very interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
and
no,
this
that's the biggest
Schmearson
thing.
guy, tell us about the Schmearson guy.
Yeah, he's one of the most influential figures in Kabbalah in the West. He's sort of the guy that seeded Kabbalah in Hollywood. I showed that headline from a couple years ago of Ivanka Trump visiting the tomb of the rabbi. So he's very much part of the influence in America, or at least the American elite, or entertainment elite, and bleeding into the political elite. When it comes to the Kabbalistic views, which are rooted in mystical Judaism. It's not, there's like your sort of mainline Judaism, and then there's your mystical side of things. And that's where a lot of the not so great types of text from, certain the origins. What am I trying to think here? Should have put that in my notes. What is it called? The Zohar. The Zohar is sort of their foundational literature, and there's some pretty strange stuff in there. So like the political and influential angle to the Kabbalah here is where, I don't know, it's surprising to me that more people aren't discussing that. But and the other thing, just because we're talking about tunnels here, I wonder if there's any kind of angle with Elon with his Boring Company, of like, hey, if you guys want tunnels, let me just do the tunnels correctly for you, that kind of thing. It could be a big play to get the, some of these folks on board with that. Yeah. But I think there's something somebody said in the chat. I forget who it was. I'm sorry. Maybe it was Estimating One, Discovering Three earlier. But they said that they're preparing a generation of Jews to accept the Antichrist, or their Messiah, quote unquote. And there's something to that. And for the news AP to focus on the story and make it such a huge deal, it's interesting. It's like profiling the people who are going to believe that the Messiah is here or something.
So what's the connection between there? You mean because of the Schmearson guy?
Well, Schneerson's cultural influence, but also Kabbalah being the mystical thing, and them and the Jewish religion in general waiting for their Messiah. And every generation, of course, has said that, or at least Jewish rabbis and stuff throughout history have said, like, oh, this is it. We know the guy. And they've even pushed out the guy, like, hey, this is the guy. And the guy's like, no.
Talking about their first coming of their Messiah.
Yeah,
that's pretty widespread throughout sort of fundamental Judaism, not just the Hasids, but I see what you're saying.
Right. But the mystical stuff is very useful in all sorts of ways. And that's why I think, to not be able to get a handle on this story per se seems to suggest that there's more to come. Maybe it's sort of setting up everything. And
there's definitely mysteries. There's definitely mysteries going on with these tunnels still. They've made 10 arrests, I think, at the last count, and so certainly there is some questioning going on. We may or may not learn any more details about this. This might be one of those things that completely disappears from the news, or if there's some useful psyop in there, we'll hear more.
Well, so there's a couple nuances about the article that I want to mention. So first off, this divide between vandalism and expansion. So these young men believed that it was expansion, based on their leader, and then but the synagogue people come out and say that it's vandalism. Those are on top of the blurring lines between your simple civilian sort of people that maybe attend the church and the actual leadership. It's kind of, are these all members of the church, or like presumably, right, if they're going through the tunnels, but they're not like part of the church, or not church, synagogue, infrastructure, leadership.
Well, this compound is a little bit more than just a synagogue. It's like the headquarters for the whole thing. And I believe that there's like a school involved, and there's dormitories and stuff like that. So there's a lot of people who inhabit these buildings on a fairly regular basis. And it's not just a, meet on Saturday type of synagogue. It's a sort of worldwide headquarters of a fairly large organization.
Right. Let me find something real quick here, because Yeah, so part of the trip there in 2000. Oh, this is another time. I'm sorry. This is 2016 when Ivanka. This is the second time, I guess, or the time before when Ivanka and Jared Kushner visited the rabbi's grave to pray for election victory. This is 2016, coming from Haaretz, and of course, if we talk about Jared Kushner.
My generation is, hopefully with the advances in science, the first generation to live forever, or the last generation that's going to die.
So let's get that last generation, the youngins, the ones that are going to be at the tip of the spear of this change, to really have some kind of messianic fervor to the point of, who knows, violence or, a rising against the traditional leaders of their synagogue. Who knows? But I'm just throwing things out there. But
I don't know. I think I have a hard time believing that, at least mid-level management didn't know about these tunnels in that building.
Oh,
sort of a massive operation.
Yeah, I don't think the leaders. I tend to think the leaders were doing something more shady, and they were throwing the young kids under the bus as a cover so they don't get in trouble. That's sort of my feel, but that's
perhaps, and not to mention that these, some weird stuff started coming out of these tunnels. In those videos, they show, pulling stained mattresses out of the tunnels. Like, apparently people were, at the very least, sleeping in there. Again, who knows? It could just be, college guys having a secret hideout and hanging out, doing drugs or whatever college kids do these days. I don't know. Everybody was very innocent back in my day, Cons.
I am curious. There's a post, there's a Medium or a Substack, I guess. I'm sorry, Substack post written by Yasha Levine, and this was published back in June of 2021. Weaponized immigrant, and the headline for again, this is a Substack, so it's kind of like a blog. The weird world of Kabbalah, and influential Hasidic sect that's been taking America and Israel by storm. Kabbalah represents the cutting edge of Zionist Jewish life in America, a movement that draws disillusioned Jews from progressive and liberal corners of Judaism and funnels them to the right. So, something there, just as a commentary. Perhaps there is more connection to Zionism than initially thought when it comes to this situation here.
Perhaps.
So. There you go.
Perhaps.
Yeah. I mean,
well, a lot of unanswered questions. Man, oh man. I read a number of articles. I listened to a number of podcasts. Nobody seems to have any insight on what's going on here. However, I did not hear any other outlets talking or speaking about the history of this Schmierson guy and really what this group sort of represents in America. I think has some interesting insight into the whole situation.
That was my first thought when I read this. So I was very surprised to hear that when you did the scouring of the other podcasts that the name wasn't even mentioned, especially because there's a history with the Kushners and Trump and
the whole thing. Would mention some of them mention the name, but it's just because it appeared in articles and stuff. Nobody really made any of the connections. So
that's so weird. I find that strange.
Well, nobody pays attention to what we pay attention to, Gons.
Apparently not.
Sometimes not even ourselves.
All
right. And with that, Gons, let's take a second, remind everybody what day it is.
It is Wednesday, my dudes. Wednesday.
Hey guys, know what day it is? It's Wednesday. It's time for the Canary Cry News Talk. Yeehaw!
Wednesday, my dudes. It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Yep, it's that day again, folks. Welcome to Wednesday. Gons, you and I have been hard at work for 3 days in a row here.
I know.
I know. So, Gons now has some time available on Tuesdays, thanks to babysitting efforts, which actually has kind of turned into kind of a nice thing because we have a day that, A, we can get a lot of stuff done, and B, sort of a set time where we can do some more interviews.
Yeah, it's great. Hopefully it works out, and the individual
hopefully it continues.
Yeah, it continues. The individual that is helping with the babysitting nannying, has her master's in child education and the whole deal. Woo! So it's knocking out so many different things for us. It's a huge blessing. So thank you for all the people who dove into the Babysitters Club. It's definitely something that is a blessing. So appreciate.
Yeah, it's a huge blessing, and not only for the show and other producers, which it definitely is a huge blessing, but I don't know about you, dear listener, but I feel a bit invested in Gonza's children, and I want them to not. Here's what would be a shame. Here's why the Babysitters Club is so important to me personally. We could send the kids away to, some daycare, but with what's going on in the world, we don't know what these kids are being taught. We don't know what books would be read to these children in California. We don't know, public school is already kind of an issue, but, you get a quality person to care for the children, cares about their well-being, reads them things that they should be reading, and educating them in the way they should go. It's almost like it wouldn't be worth the sacrifice of those children just to get them out of the room to do the show, if that makes any sense. So thank you to everybody who signed up for the Babysitters Club. You can go to canarycrybabysittersclub.com. As of now, we still are not at our goal necessarily for this to be a permanent solution, but we're stepping out in faith with the sort of budget made available by the producers already, and we are praying that the Lord comes in and supports this endeavor in a way that can really make it kind of a permanent solution, again, for the show and for the kids. Babysitters Club. That's right. So if you want to produce the show, if you've thought about it, you've heard me talk about it forever, but it just hasn't felt right. And perhaps one of those reasons is because you don't know what that money is going towards. Well, I can tell you, if you sign up at the canarycrybabysittersclub.com, you are committing to pay for 1 hour of babysitting or nannying for the month, and you will receive the Canary Cry supply drop as a bonus. You'll get all the cool stuff that goes out once per quarter. Folks, the next one is going to include Age of Deceit 4, and we've got some very cool announcements coming up about that. But yes, so you can guarantee your support goes to caring for the kids. You'll get the supply drop, and we'll thank you very much for producing the show, putting some value back in. It truly is a high leverage way to support the show. It makes a huge difference. And we're believing that we'll hit our sort of budget goal, hopefully within the month, and if not, hopefully as soon as possible, because it is currently a little unsustainable, but we're gonna figure it out.
Yep.
Okay, Gonz, you have anything else you want to mention?
No, there's some clips that I wanted to bring to the show, but there's no place for it other than to mention it here. Did you see the clip of the judge lady who got tackled when she gave the sentence to somebody? I don't know the exact situation.
Yeah.
It was just a guy who jumped over the.
Yeah, I was actually very confused as to why this was such the headline-grabbing thing. I mean, it was entertaining to watch in sort of that YouTube 1.0 fail video type of way.
Right.
But it was like national news. This guy who charged the judge jumped over the bench, caused some injuries.
Yeah. I was trying to show it, and then it disappeared on me. Hold on.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's just one of those things I don't know. It became a meme of its own, so it's fun. But that's really the only thing I had, other than DeSantis getting called out for wearing high heels.
Yeah. Again?
Yeah, it happened again, yeah.
Oh, good. He's not going to get away from that. There's no way to get away from that. My goodness. All right. Well, I say we keep the show moving here. Let's take a second and thank some producers.
Sorry, we just cut over to
there's
the
footage,
video. And they're just pounding down on the guy. Oh man,
bizarre...
it's just such. Our country is just the state of the country.
I appreciate that, but I think it's time.
I think this says it all. But
yeah, he was very upset.
Very upset at the ruling, and he basically jumps over the desk. Just did the whole.
There's going to be some bad words in this, guy. I can't hear you. All all I hear is the screaming.
Oh, really? You can hear that?
I can't hear you speaking. You are very low. I have the rowdiness of an insane person beating people up is screaming in my ears.
Okay,
so
wait a minute. So hold on. Live.
Here we go.
Producer under the hood.
The tech moment, folks.
Yeah. Okay. So you heard the audio.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear the audio, and people can
weird.
hear the audio out there.
I don't know. Chat.
Okay.
Could
So
you
they're
hear?
saying, yeah, they're saying that you weird because the tab is muted.
Ah.
What in the world?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well, there's another thing for you.
Yeah.
No more
Also,
playing videos on the browser.
Fun deal.
Mm-hmm.
With our new streaming platform here, we can like put people's chat on the screen.
We can. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Did you just? Oh, whoops.
I didn't do it.
I
Did
put
you do
one
that?
up. There we go. I put one up, and I thought it would come off by itself. I had to turn it
No,
off.
you have to. Turn it off.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
There you go.
Fun.
Yeah.
So we can put people's good chats up on the screen. Okay.
Right.
Well, with that, Gons, we're on the value for value model. Let's thank some executive producers.
Executive producers.
That's right. We're on value for value. It means we have no sponsors of the show. No corporations, no commies, no cartels are giving us money in order to co-opt your attention. Value for value model, it's a paradigm shift. It's the future, and it's the idea that we all have responsibility to keep the things alive that bring value to our lives. No longer are we relying on corporations to sell our attention via ads and marketing to keep stuff alive. If we want things to keep going, we are responsible for it. And that's all of us. Gons and I, we support other shows that we want to survive with value for value. And people here listening now do the same here. You can support the show with your time, your talent, or your treasure. It's not all about money. There's lots of ways to get involved, to add value to the show, and we welcome and encourage all of them. One of those ways is by producing financially, and the executive producers are people who come in for $100 or more for any individual episode, which is why we thank them at the top right now. And let's do it, Gons. What do you say?
Let's do it. Yep.
Okay.
Ready to go.
So this will come as no surprise, but it makes us no less enthusiastic about executive producer Sir LX Protocol V2 Knight of the Berean Protocol. Yep, and he comes in for $100 and 33 cents. It is, I think it's fair to say that Sir LX Protocol V2 Knight of the Berean Protocol is like, in fact, in the long storied history of humanity, he very much has taken the position of patron. He is our patron because he has been executive producing the show, or he's at least one of our patrons. He has been executive producing the show for 48 episodes in a row.
Oh, my goodness.
Incredible. Okay, it's official. We definitely need to bump him up to whatever the new... What are we doing? We're doing Baron or something? Yeah. Because we also have to baronize Guy and Debbie, I think, here.
Yeah, there's
so we got some people to
line.
baronize. We'll get that ready. We will officially expand the knighthood, damehood thing to the next level. Thank you to executive producer Sir Alex Protocol V2 Knight of the Berean Protocol.
Protocol.
Where'd you find this?
Now, fun. I meant to thank these people earlier, but we also had some new members of the Canary Cry Babysitters Club.
Hey, awesome.
Yeah. These are people who heard last episode and they're like, wow, what a value it is to have these children taken care of. And they thought to themselves, I want these children to keep getting taken care of. And so they did. They joined the Canary Cry Babysitters Club. And here we go. We got a brand new Babysitter Club member, Cassidy E.
Cassidy E. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We also have a new Babysitters Club member, Jan S. I think this might be Warrior Chick Jan.
Yeah, I think Warrior Chick Jan. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, now remember, folks, if you want to keep these babies off the air, go to CanaryCryBabysittersClub.com. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
And with that, it's kind of a short list, Gons. I might just run through it right now.
Let's do it. Knock it out.
It was, I will say, the January schlump was at its worst this morning when we were getting the show ready. But after the email, we had a few people come in to try to save the day, and we thank them very much. And one of those people was producer Warrior Chick Jan.
Hey, Warrior Chick Jan again.
Yeah,
Thank you.
She came in again for 43.33.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Where are you, Illuminati?
Illuminatus!
And she sent a message here. Happy New Year, boys. Putting on the full armor of God this year is going to be a wild ride.
Amen.
Yeah. Amen.
Thank you,
Very
Warrior Chick Jan.
true. Very true story. Next up, we've got producer Kyle I.
Kyle I.
Kyle I is back.
Like your I or like the letter I?
Whatever you want, Gons.
Okay,
Whatever's
great.
more mysterious for the podcast, I guess.
Great. I'm, just for the official list.
Yeah. Kyle I comes in for 33.33.
Illuminatus!
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Kyle I.
Thank you, Kyle I.
Next up, we got producer Deborah S.
Deborah S. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Deborah S. came in for a nice round number, which means we don't disclose it on the show. If you don't mind us disclosing the amount, make it a funky number. For instance, 33 cents, 11 cents, 1, 2, 3, 4, stuff like that. Thank you, producer Deborah S.
Thank you very much.
I'm just going to pop over here real quick just to make sure that no notes came in for these people. Yep. Okay. Continuing on, we have producer, timestamp extraordinaire, producer Morgan E.
Morgan E.
Thank you, Morgan E. She puts value into the show, very important value, by doing timestamps a couple times a week, and also coming in with her treasure. You are a treasured producer, Morgan E.
Thank you so much.
Came in for 11.11.
Ooh.
11.
Nice.
Next up, we have producer Yvonne R.
Yvonne, thank you,
now,
Yvonne.
Yvonne R. came in for $7.77, $7.77, and has a note here. Are you ready?
Yes.
Gons! Please check out the Oceanside Market on Thursdays. Oceanside Market on Thursday. There is a Canarian who sells protective wax for glasses, watches, and more. Smitty's. Take your glasses and he'll polish them for free. And then a sunglass smiley face emoji. She's there for both morning and evening markets. Okay, you got a Canarian at the Oceanside Market, guy.
Nice. The Smitty, is this a Smitty bar? No, it's a Smitty.
No, it's going to be a booth at the what sounds like a farmer's market.
Yeah.
On Thursdays.
Yeah, it looks good. I will find
Smitty's.
that. Thank you. Yes, I will look for. Yeah, I'll put on a. I don't know. I'll put the googly eyes on a hat.
Bring your
or something.
glasses.
Yeah,
free glasses waxing. I didn't even know I needed to wax my glasses, but now luckily
my glasses are actually
for free.
broken. They're broken. I did the thing where you put it under hot water so you can bend it. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. It wasn't hot enough. I just snapped it.
Bring it to Smitty. Smitty's got you covered.
Yeah.
All right. That concludes our list of financial producers who came in the amount of $7.77 or more, which entitles them to have a note read on the show. We have some people coming in under that amount. I will say their name and the streak of how long they've been producing the show. Starting out with Doctor Who Dundat, 43 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Doctor Who Dundat.
Mrs. Tinfoil Hat Man, I made a mistake. I missed her last episode, but she is now 4 episodes in a row.
Okay, this is Tinfoil Hat Man. Thank you.
Yes, which we missed Heating Up. So let's give her Heating Up.
Okay. I see.
He's heating up.
She's heating up. Thank you, Mrs. Tinfoil Hat Man. Sir Morv, Night of the Burning Chariots, 318 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Sir Morv.
Veronica D, 347 in a row.
Thank you, Veronica D.
Dame Gale, 341 in a row.
Thank you, Dame Gale.
Sir Scott Knight of Truth, 372.
Thank you, Sir Scott Knight of Truth.
Sir Casey the Shield Knight.
Sir Casey the Shield Knight.
387 in a row. Thank you very much, Sir Casey.
Thank you very much.
We're going to have to prepare for 400 episodes in a row for Sir Casey.
Yeah, hold on 1 second here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
do some
8.
math. Doing some math in his
1, 2,
brain.
3, 4.
Pausing the show to do some math.
Trying to see how many ladies came in. It seems like there were a lot of ladies that came in today.
Yeah. A lot of support from the from the ladies today. It was pretty much all of them except for Kyle and
some of the repeat
Sir Alex Protocol.
Yeah.
Not counting the streakers. They were all females except for Kyle and Protocol.
Women rule!
There you go.
Women rule. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our list of financial producers for this episode. We thank them very, very much. I can feel us slowly starting to claw our way out of the January slump. Happens every year, but we can rebound, and you can be a part of that by going to canarycry.support. And remember, it's not just about supporting financially. Come in with your time, your talent, become a part of the community, become part of something more than any single one of us for 2024, because it is going to be all hands on deck this year. Literally.
It already has been. Nephilim was trending the first week of
We're 10 days in, and it's already approaching craziness that we haven't seen before.
We got Jewish kids in tunnels. We got Nephilim trending.
We got big things going on this year. It promises to be crazy. We have been put in the right place at the right time, and by we, not just me and Gons, but you, dear listener. You are in the right place at the right time to get involved. You can go to canarycry.support. You'll see all sorts of financial options, but if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a form. Fill out that form. That form is telling us that you want to literally get your hands on the project. All hands on deck. Get involved with some of our back-end projects. We've got some big projects we want to accomplish this year. We've got recurring projects. We've got special projects. We got stuff that needs doing for 2024, and we cannot do it ourselves. So if you want to get involved, go to canarycry.support, scroll all the way down, fill out that form. We even have someone who will be reaching out to you to help to help me, honestly, sort of manage the whole situation. But do it. Go do it. This is the year. Do it for the year. If you don't want to after this year, you're nothing lost, okay? And just for a little bit of inspiration. So far, people who have gotten involved on the back end, there are people who do stuff for us episode by episode, and they are thanked every episode. We got people who who started doing something for us on the back end that, wasn't even really accredited. They didn't want their names read or something like that, and they didn't really know how to do it, but it was something we needed. They learned how to do it. We helped them through some education, and people have straight up started businesses off of the skills that they learned helping us out. There, more than one Canarian has started a business based on what they started helping us with, and we love that. We love that. They came in as a producer, learned a skill, got good at something, and then went out and made it their full-time vocation. This is the type of cool stuff that comes from the value for value model, because if we had just hired somebody to do something, which we don't have the budget to do, first of all, but if we had just hired somebody to do something for us, they probably wouldn't be listeners to the show. They would probably have the skill already, so they're not learning anything new. They're already an employee now, so they don't have the reason to start a business, the gumption, the entrepreneurial spirit. I get it. Look, nobody should feel pressured or obligated to give anything to the show. But if you are inspired, there are ways to take your producership and transform your life with it, honestly. I can make no guarantees for anybody, but, the real go-getters out there are really making a difference. Not just for the show, but for themselves in their own lives and their own families. So go to canarycry.support, scroll to the bottom, fill out that form, get involved.
Canarycry.support.
There we go. Flippy.
Flippy time. Let me get all my... Okay, hold on. Mouse.
Flippy update. Do you want fries with that?
That's right, folks. It's time for the Flippy update. Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world, and how there's nothing we can do about it. And Flippy, we focus on the robotic arm, because the robotic arm, you can almost consider it as some sort of symbol, a sigil, a sort of magical object, that it represents not just the literal encroachment of robots into not just our lives, but our work, the material matter of making this world what it is, sometimes literally building the circuits, building the walls, using the arm, doing the chores, arranging the pillows, all the way from big, massive industrial uses down to the small domestic subtleties of what it means to make a life happen as a human. The robotic arm is that symbol being burned into our brains. And that's why I bring you this story from The Verge. And the headline is, "This new RoboVac has an arm and can phone home."
Aliens.
The RoboVac has an arm. While we wait impatiently for robot vacuums to grow legs and tackle our stairs, Roborock has added an arm to its newest flagship model. Launching at CES 2024 in Las Vegas this week, the Roborock S8 Max V Ultra. Wow! Roborock S8 Max V Ultra has an admittedly very small arm that pushes the robot's side brush out further to get into corners. Okay, so it's not going to be picking up your slippers and bringing them to you, but hey, it's an arm on a robot in your house. And that is all I'm going to read of this article, because it is the only one that matters, guys. Because, look, people are kind of... Look, either you get the Flippy update or you don't. I try as much as I can to try to truly communicate what the Flippy update is about. And it's not just about robots. It's about the sort of occult mind powers that are the propagandists are using to insert robots, not just into our lives, but also our hearts and our brains, and the symbology of the robot arm, and really the sort of mythical type of stuff going on around us, turning our world from what it once was into what they want in regards to the technocratic utopia. And this opening paragraph really fully embodies kind of what I've been trying to say about the Flippy update. It is something about the arm on the robot. Who else on this earth would be as excited to hear about an arm robot, even in such a minuscule and lame way, as people who understand the Flippy update? I am telling you, guys, these robot reporters, they have to have some, somebody has had to tip them off to what we've been talking about here, the enthusiasm, whether it's ironic or satirical or authentic, and sometimes it's all three. The enthusiasm about robotic arms and the symbology that it brings to our human sort of cognition. I'm almost certain that somebody at The Verge, like those at Miso Robotics and like those at other sort of robo-reporting outlets, are keenly aware of what's going on here at the Flippy update. That's why they put googly eyes on robots. That's why they do all this. Why they open their article speaking directly to those who understand the importance of the robot arm in our lives. Because that's, look, they even admit it's small, it's kind of useless, it doesn't do anything, but listen, it's a robot with an arm, and it's in your house, just hammering home the sort of subtle mind control that we've been identifying since the beginning of the Flippy update, and I think that's important enough to let the fans of the Flippy update know that we are on the right track. If nothing else, it is sort of a conglomeration of predictions made by myself and every fan of the Flippy update, and they're telling us that we're on the right track. Not just the robo makers, but the robo propagandists. They're giving us subtle hints here, Gons, and every Flippy update fan needs to know that and be encouraged.
There's something about this report here that is, the theme being messianic. Everything is messianic. And we think about Jesus' first coming. God could have shown himself as the almighty ruler that he is and come down and you must obey me or I will burn you in hell forever. The kind of God that the atheists paint as our Lord and Savior. But he came as a baby in a manger. We often hear about the humble, he humbled himself. He came as a baby. And this is very similar, except it's the robots in the home. It's like, it's very small. It's nothing. It doesn't do anything. But it's in your home. It's got this reverence, even though it's nothing. It's a weird...
It's the Savior being born in a manger, a little baby. He could have come as a lightning-throwing, bearded god.
Cyborg,
Right, cyborg. But no, it is a humble baby arm in the manger of a robot vacuum who will grow to the salvation of human history.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Well, there's the other part is, sort of the phone home reference in the headline. There's nothing much in the article about it other than it can.
Yeah, this particular one is sort of connected to your Google Home or your Home
stuff.
Assistant, and it can make video calls and it can do all sorts of things.
So, but the phone home, I get it. It's kind of a fun play on words. It's the E.T., Steven Spielberg E.T., E.T. phone home, that whole thing. So tapping into the nostalgia there, but also, just having that relationship of, well, not relationship, but, association of a robot with aliens is very subtle, but it's there because I think that's the only way people can associate. Well, what do we think of robots? Well, they're kind of like extraterrestrials. They're kind of like aliens to us. They're just showing up. They have their own mind that, somebody programmed or whatever. And then the other part, just to be, and we've talked about this maybe, but, they have the new Q Revo Max V, and they talk about the Q models, and anytime Q shows up, all the Q heads are going crazy. So, maybe there's a little bit of messaging there too. They talk about the Q line, the Q model, the Q
it's
Revo.
A dog whistle.
It's
Q Revolution.
Q the
it's
miserable,
literally
Q
saying
the
it's
desperate. What must I do to convince you people? You're right, Q.
Q Revolution. The Storm model. The Storm is coming.
This is, the Savior Q AI has an arm and is in your home now. I think that's what the message is here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, there, folks. That's your Flippy update for the day. Time to get back to the news.
Right. Yeah. What are we talking? Oh, we have the big thing that I wanted to start the show with, but it's okay. We got money. Got crypto.
Is this a crypto? Crypto? Do I look like I know what a crypto is?
We got Bitcoin.
Bitcoin go to moon.
There's some others. There's like Elon related to this stuff.
You are already sort of a cybernetic symbiote. Neural nets are taking over from regular programming. So you are connected.
There's also BlackRock.
BlackRock is a financial giant. It's the largest investor on planet Earth.
There's also a subtle, loose, adjacent connection to cyber pandemics.
The COVID-19 crisis would be seen as a small disturbance in comparison to a major cyber pandemic.
It's a lot of things, Basil.
It's
all
good.
Together.
We need to play jingles for every possible reason we can.
So the theme here, as we'll go through a couple of these stories, is the teardown or the demolition of trust when it comes to our government institutions. And, obviously the CDC, FDA, NIH, those institutions got a severe hit of credibility, or at least, public sentiment during the COVID situation the last 3-4 years. We also have, the ongoing skepticism of groups or institutional groups like the FBI, CIA, these intelligence agencies. And it just seems like every government agency is going through this quote unquote exposure or something. It's like this, they get thrown into the public light where normally people wouldn't care about them and just get hated on. It's a crazy, crazy thing. So to tell the story of what happened yesterday, and this has to do with Bitcoin and the Bitcoin ETF, and we've loosely talked about it a little bit over the few episodes over the years and stuff. But let's start here. I'm going to try to keep this as logical as possible. Back in October 16th, this is the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission X account or Twitter account. And they published this back on October 2023. Careful what you read on the internet. The best source of information about the SEC is the SEC. Okay, so this was actually in conjunction to the kickoff of the crypto, I guess it was like a mini bull run, the sort of a coming out of a bear market situation. It happened right when the Gaza stuff started, ironically enough. It was like literally, if you look at a chart, the Gaza thing happened on the 7th. Within a week, crypto started pumping. The entire market started pumping. And it was based on a false report that the SEC had approved the Bitcoin ETF. It's a long-standing thing. I think the first ETF was attempted like 10 years ago or something like that. And so it's been a long road. And now we're about to have it. And I haven't checked Twitter X today, but it's supposed to be confirmed today. But we'll see what happens based on what happened yesterday. So this is back in October. Then a week later, on October 24th, 2023, Gary Gensler, who is the SEC commissioner, he's the commissioner of the Securities Exchange Commission, he came out and said, this is a reminder to secure your financial accounts as well as protect against identity theft and fraud. Remember to use strong passphrase or passwords. Set up multi-factor authentication. Keep account alerts turned on. So just to highlight the set up multi-factor authentication suggestion there by Gary Gensler, head of the SEC. All right. So what happened yesterday? The SEC posted something that said, hey, yeah, today, well, let me just read it. Today, the SEC grants approval for Bitcoin ETFs for listing on all registered national securities exchanges. The approved Bitcoin ETF will be subject to the ongoing surveillance and compliance measures to ensure continued investor protection. Now, the language sounds very much like something that the SEC would actually publish. They have a whole, little JPEG visual with Gary Gensler's face and a little quote there about how you got to have efficient access to digital asset investments in a regulated framework. It sounds like a regular SEC post. And the market's pumped. Bitcoin went up like $1,000 on this news. But within 15 minutes, Gary Gensler came out and shared this. The SEC Twitter account was compromised, and an unauthorized tweet was posted. The SEC has not approved the listing and trading of spot Bitcoin exchange-traded products. So, okay, so crash market. Now, the market tanked after that. You can see it in the charts. I won't show the charts. It's not really that important, but you'll see a big pump up and then a big drop down. And the ironic thing here, Basil, is that the Securities Exchange Commission, their job is to prevent market manipulation. Their whole thing is like, okay, keep a check on all these people and groups, who's trading, who's doing what. We don't allow any kind of obvious market manipulation. But hello, the SEC posting something and then Gary Gensler posting something directly affected the markets, at least the Bitcoin market. So, right. All right, great. And then the SEC themselves published also, the SEC X account was compromised and the unauthorized post was posted. The SEC has not approved the listing and trading of spot Bitcoin exchange traded products. Now, the story was, or at least being told was, oh, the SEC was hacked, or the SEC account was hacked. But within, I think it was 15 minutes after that initial post went out, Gary Gensler posted that, oh, yeah, our account was hacked. And then I think it was even a couple minutes after that where the Securities Exchange Commission account itself got their account back and said, oh, yeah, it was compromised, an unauthorized post was posted, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, for those of you who are unfamiliar with what happens when social media platforms get hacked, you normally don't get it back in like a half hour. It's very rare to, just boom, you get your account back. Usually, with a hack, and we've seen it happen with a lot of content creators on platforms like X, they start posting scams, like scam links to crypto, like fake crypto stuff. And that's when you know that they've been hacked, is they start publishing this stuff or responding to people's posts and whatever. In this case, there was no link. There was nothing. There was just the post. And then literally within 10, 15 minutes, Gary Gensler reacting, U.S. Securities Exchange Commission Twitter account, getting their account back, and then deleting the post and then publishing this instead. Very suspicious. And not normally how hacks happen when it comes to a real, or at least what we've seen traditionally as an account hack. So, interestingly enough, let me pull up what CNBC, the way they sort of reported on some of this. And, okay, so this was CNBC talking about this hack.
Okay, and so I'm just going to reiterate it one more time. It would appear that X has been hacked, that the U.S. government, the SEC, has not been hacked, which in of itself would have been quite interesting, since the SEC is also regulating all of these cybersecurity issues and hacks for
interesting
public or private sector as well right now. But bottom line, this is not true. We don't have this. Focus on the SEC website, perhaps, rather than some of the social media platforms.
The little sleight of hand. And what was starting to get reported was X was hacked.
Right.
Not the SEC account on X. No, X was hacked. And that led to the, headlines like this one. SEC account hack amplifies concerns over security at Musk's X. This is Yahoo Finance mirroring Bloomberg. So, yeah, they all came out to sort of defend the SEC and Gary Gensler and the whole thing. Now, there are a lot of people that are very suspicious about this entire thing. There's, I've talked about this before, Basil, but the cryptocurrency community at large, I'm being very general here, the people that are into cryptocurrencies, a lot of them have a libertarian perspective on things, especially a lot of people in America who are into it, know that, the dollar system is corrupt and the whole deal. And they're very passionate. And so there's a whole generation of people, especially young people, that are learning about traditional finance, me included. I don't care about ETFs. I didn't really know anything about ETFs, a couple of years ago until people really started talking about it. And so it's been an education for me. But because, this stuff's not taught in school. And but it's fascinating how as people learn about it, not only do they start acting weird, like they're doing weird stuff, Gary Gensler at SEC, all this stuff, but then the people, the skepticism, borderline hatred of people like Gary Gensler, it's off the charts. It is quite crazy to watch. And then the mainstream media defending them in a sense and trying to change the subject. They're doing their usual sleight of hand tricks to, make sure the SEC is good to go and they're in the clear. And so what had happened was Gizmodo came out with this article. X confirms SEC hack because, the SEC started posting like, oh, we're working with law enforcement. We're going to get to the bottom of this. And everyone's like, okay. And then Gizmodo with this headline, X confirms SEC hack, says account didn't have 2FA. It didn't have two-factor authentication, Basil. They themselves were telling people to have two-factor authentication on their accounts. So not a great look. Not a great look for the general public there. Let's see. The Securities Exchange Commission's primary X account was hacked on Tuesday. The social media site has confirmed the account, which falsely tweeted about a much-anticipated Bitcoin ruling, thus throwing the crypto world into a temporary uproar, didn't have two-factor authentication activated, which allowed an unknown person to compromise it, the site said. And it was based on a phone number, apparently, that somebody had gotten a hold of. So, again, I think it shows the weakness of the traditional system. And I think it's meant to be that way. And it's meant to also show sort of, again, the demolition of trust in all of our institutions. It's just a trend. It's the trend, and it's setting up a Trump presidency. I think that's sort of the bigger thing happening here, in my opinion, because obviously Trump is going to be, I don't know, hailed as sort of the, MAGA 2.0, saving America, that sort of narrative. So, you want, in the context of certain places in government, to be falling apart, which it is. It's been falling apart for a while in general, but, it's just another one of those things. So any thoughts, Basil, before I go on here?
No, I mean, it's just, it's been fun to watch X have a blast with this, and it is suspicious that, like what would, I mean, I guess somebody wanting to affect the Bitcoin market would know that this would have some sort of effect. Now, I was asking you this back when we first started talking about this, like the Bitcoin ETF by BlackRock or whoever's doing it. Like what effect would it have? Will it raise the price of Bitcoin? Will it devalue Bitcoin? And you never really knew. You were kind of like, we don't know. It's kind of up in the air to see how the market would react. And this is difficult for a lot of actual Bitcoin owners trying to figure out if this Bitcoin ETF is good or bad. And what was interesting from this event was, somebody didn't even need to want to gain millions of dollars from this. It was almost worth enough for somebody to apparently very easily phish the password account for the
That's
SEC
suspicious
X
in itself, man.
Yeah, clicked on a link in an email and put the password in or whatever. It was easy enough to just test the market. I mean, I think it's interesting to know that when this fake approval of the Bitcoin ETF went out, that the price actually did spike about $1,500 or something.
Yeah, and went up, and then it went way back down.
Immediately
back down
falling
$2,000.
after the news, that it was fake.
Yeah.
So will that affect the future announcements? If who knows?
So
who knows
that's what
any
people
of
are.
this?
The people within the crypto, and what I was going to say was that the crypto crowd are sort of natural conspiracy theorists. Very loosely, I'm saying that very loosely. But they're aware of the problem of the system, the beast system in many cases, and so these crypto people out there listening or watching, you are people too. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. But so Gary Gensler, just for people who may not be familiar with Gary Gensler, he's former Goldman Sachs, so there's already that. He's banker tied. He's in with Elizabeth Warren. He's doing the bidding of the banks. And when he first got in, everyone thought, oh, this is going to be great. He taught blockchain at MIT, so he understands the technology. This will be fantastic. But what happened in the next few years was he just started suing all these crypto companies, Ripple XRP being a huge one. And the SEC actually pretty much lost every case last year. Last year was big in that, XRP won their case. Grayscale won. Grayscale is one of the biggest crypto holders in the world. I don't know if you know about this, Basil. Grayscale has, they have their product there, and they actually, as to my understanding, as of right now, they own 3% of the entire Bitcoin network. So their value is $29 billion in Bitcoin. They own over 500,000 Bitcoin. So they're set, and they had, I think, a trust, like a Bitcoin trust, that they've wanted to turn into an ETF for like years, and Gary Gensler wasn't allowing that to happen, and so Grayscale sued Gary Gensler and the SEC. They won, and so now we're saying, okay, it's inevitable, it's going to happen, it has to happen, and there's a lot of pressure coming from the courts, with Gary Gensler to make it happen, and he's stalling and doing all these things. So there's some possibilities there also, but in terms of the price, Basil, of Bitcoin and what it will do. So to my understanding, this is going to allow family offices, institutions, big players, like big money people, traditional Wall Street type of people, to actually invest in Bitcoin. And they don't have to worry about holding keys and self-custody. And I actually think it might be a big government psyop going on to get as much Bitcoin as possible. Because if they do this and they're holding the Bitcoin of all these large wealthy people, and then all of a sudden Bitcoin is deemed a national security threat or something like that, and they confiscate all of it. That's a ton of Bitcoin the government now has. So, there's some theories about maybe that's what's going on here, and BlackRock is heading the charge. But I've also heard from analysts and things, I've been watching a lot of this stuff, that once the ETF starts trading, BlackRock has about $2 billion ready to deploy to create liquidity, to make it look like it's, there's a lot of trading going on or whatever. The largest trading volume in 1 month of ETFs, to my understanding, is like $2.5 billion or something like that. That's like the record for most in a month. And BlackRock is trying to break that record in the first week or something like that. And so one analyst said, BlackRock's going to pretty much come out here once this thing starts trading and show everybody who the daddy is in the markets, in the Bitcoin markets.
Yeah.
And so because they're going to be fighting for market share, because there's about 13 companies that are providing the ETF as a product. And so, Basil, I don't know if you have your mind wrapped around this, but can you imagine stockbrokers and these people that, pitch what the rich people should invest in, all of a sudden promoting Bitcoin to all these wealthy clients? That's what's going to happen. So over the next couple years, we should see Bitcoin break 100,000, and some people are making crazy predictions like 500,000, but I don't know if it's going to go that high. But this is mainstream adoption. I mean, this is it. So if you bought Bitcoin before this week, congratulations, you front ran institutions when it comes to this asset.
Right.
And there's questions about where Bitcoin will eventually end up, and I will share that in Age of Deceit 4 as part of my thesis. But I think this is interesting. It's fun because it's just so wild that, the government institution gets hacked the day before they're supposed to announce something that's as monumental as the biggest financial instrument since the S&P 500, and their account gets hacked. I mean, the whole thing just sounds like a complete staged.
Yeah, well,
thing.
The question is, why not just let it lie? If they were going to approve it, have they approved it? Somebody in the chat just said it's been approved. I don't know. We'll find out here.
Yeah, the SEC hasn't. Well, let's see. Yeah, they haven't published anything official on X, but there are people going to their website, and there's some stuff that's approved on there. So it's kind of.
So then, what's the problem? That's the weird thing. If they, let's see. I don't see any official things. SEC approves Bitcoin ETFs for trading. This is on NBCNewYork.com. But this came out yesterday.
So they retracted. That's why they had to change the story to, X got hacked.
Yeah.
Which is not what happened. But yeah, that was sort of a lot of people jumped on it because it looks so real, And that's the thing that's weird is whoever hacked the account, if it was some genuine hack, knew the circumstances and the situation. So it's probably not, some foreign, hacker from Russia or something like that, if they're aware of all this stuff and they fake a post like that. So some people have speculated also that perhaps this was a scheduled post, and the intern or the whatever secretary put it on the wrong date or something. It's supposed to be today, accidentally hit it on the 9th, and then it went live, and then and then Gary gets his phone starts blowing up. He's like, let's just tell him we got hacked, and that whole thing. So it's possible. You never know with these types of things, but I just think it's fun because the normally boring traditional type of stuff is there's a lot of action, Basil, when it comes to the SEC.
I think yours probably makes a lot of sense because what they're saying is, they didn't have two-factor authentication set, or if they did have it set, it means whoever's phone number attached to the two-factor authentication was hacked, which suggests that the two-factor authentication did go through. It's just, your phone number was hacked. So it goes layers and layers. I think you're right. I think it was scheduled, or somebody just messed up and they're trying to cover for a big mistake.
Yeah. See, because if you break down the language here of the actual post this is the post where they said that it was compromised. An unauthorized post was posted.
Yeah.
That sounds like a post. I mean, I understand what they're
Yeah,
saying, but
somebody
also it kind of
with-
sounds like a a draft that got posted on Accent or something.
Somebody with real access posted unauthorizedly.
Right. And so, but the blame game is something that I want to point out with, hacking, because just as a side note, Gizmodo also had this headline about a week ago, 23andMe to data breach victims. It's your fault. It's your fault, Basil. Here's what they said. Quote, this is 23andMe responding to, the people complaining about their data leaking all over the dark web and all that. Quote, users negligently recycled and failed to update their passwords following these past security incidents, which are unrelated to 23andMe. Therefore, the incident was not a result of 23andMe's alleged failure to maintain reasonable security measures, end quote. Basically saying, yeah, it's your fault, people, not 23andMe.
Of course. Well, that's always been a thing with two-factor authentication. It's barely safer. It's not like the incredibly sort of genius in how much safer it makes you, but it is a good sort of liability shifting device for companies.
Yeah. And just to kind of top off this segment here, good old Jamie Dimon, just he's the one that said that Bitcoin is for criminals and all this kind of stuff. He's saying all that here. He got asked about it again on Fox Business, and remember, he's the guy who's part. He's the guy who's I think he's involved in handling some of the ETFs. It came out like a week ago that he's involved in some part of the custody or the changing of hands or something. Here's what he said.
There's also new regulation coming on Bitcoin, and you famously said recently that you would shut it down if you were in government. Can you give us more clarity on that?
Yeah, what I was also pointing out is that the actual use cases are sex trafficking, tax avoidance, anti-money laundering, terrorism financing. It's not people just buying and selling Bitcoin. There's no value to if you're buying and selling Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just complete lies. It's just pure lies. Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
For everyone to understand that this is not, I'm not being just pro Bitcoin here. I'm actually, the phenomenon itself is very fascinating to me. On the other side of the spectrum, you have Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor owns a ton of Bitcoin. I don't know, I can't remember the amount. He's got like 260,000 Bitcoin or something. He's one of the biggest Bitcoin holders. And he's gone all in. And so this is the kind of person, all these Wall Street folks and all these wealthy people, they're going to start investigating Bitcoin and seeing stuff like this.
Which one's the best crypto asset? Well, Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Okay. What's the second best? There is no second best. There's no second best crypto asset. There's a crypto asset. It's called Bitcoin, right? Right? There's no second best, okay? When I take a pint of blood out of your body, you lose the red blood platelets. Anybody common sense knows you run the Boston Marathon the next day, you got a problem. The dollar is weakening, okay? It's like the oxygen's getting sucked out of the rooms. Take all your money, buy Bitcoin, then take all your time, figure out how to borrow more money to buy more Bitcoin, then take all your time and figure out what you can sell to buy Bitcoin. The answer is you can trust Bitcoin because you can custody your own asset, you can run your own node, and at the end of the day, even if the Chinese want to shut it down, they can't. If the Russians want to shut it down, they can't. If any nation state wants to shut it down, they can't. If the U.S. wanted to shut it down, they can't. The law of thermodynamics will not be denied. And Bitcoin is the technically superior asset. It is the economically superior asset. And it is the ethically superior asset. Go mortgage your house and buy Bitcoin.
Wow.
So all I'm saying is that there are extremes here, okay? There's the real haters, like the Jamie Dimon types that are also making money off of it. And then there are your zealots, I guess, your evangelists for Bitcoin, which Michael Saylor, billionaire, he's probably going to be a trillionaire when all is said and done here in a few years. And he's one of these guys, I think he's going to be one of these cybernetic cyborg transhuman guys. Like I think he wants to get plugged into the Matrix and the whole deal, because he's it's funny because he does some Mid-Journey AI art, and he'll make some Bitcoin AI art and then post like Bitcoin is like the center of energy, like the energy is only circulates around life because of Bitcoin or something, and then gets like 8 million views and like 50,000 shares and stuff. So anyway, good times.
Yeah, you know when did this whoopsie daisies happen?
Yesterday. You're talking about the SEC
I'm seeing
and
some
the
stuff now. Trending Bitcoin ETF on X right now. A lot of people are acting like it got approved.
I know, that's what I'm saying. This
as
thing
of
is
6
wacky.
hours ago.
Yeah, people
as
are
of
posting
6 hours ago, they're
screenshots.
saying that it was approved.
Yeah, they're posting screenshots and stuff, but interestingly enough, the SEC account itself. Let's see, we're approving the list of trade. Yeah, I'm seeing stuff come in right now. Like watch.
Yeah, 2 hours ago, breaking spot ETF has now been approved or pending approval, and 20 more ETF are expected to submit approval in the coming weeks. This is confusing. Well, is it worth $1 million yet or not? That's all I care about.
It probably will be in a few years. Before 2030 for sure, I would say, if
all right.
things keep going that way, because,
I think it's time to move on here, Gons.
Okay. All right. Fine.
We gave it as much time as possible.
Well,
but I think it's interesting, and I don't like how confusing it is.
Yeah, well, I think it's the greater point here is less trust in institutions. That's the big takeaway. And the whole Bitcoin concept is based on that. And this is Wall Street trying to make a buck off of it, off that sentiment, which is sort of indicative of how Trump played 2016, how he's probably playing his presidency now, in the context of, hey, everything's falling apart. We need something better. And in that regard, we got a Politico article here. Pentagon didn't inform Biden White House for days about Austin's hospitalization. So Pentagon did not tell Joe Biden and other top officials about Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's hospitalization for 3 days. 3 U.S. officials said.
Yeah, I heard 4 days last time, but okay.
The article says 4 days later.
I know. No details can be approved on any story today, apparently.
Well, yeah, I don't understand. Yeah, later it talks about how there's 4 days that pass between blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so this is very interesting. This is to summarize really what happened here was Lloyd Austin went to the hospital. He got a quote-unquote elective surgery, and it was unknown for a while what elective meant. People making jokes about tummy tucks and facelifts. Apparently it was an elective surgery regarding prostate cancer.
Yeah.
So he went in on December 22nd for an elective surgery for some prostate cancer, and I think it was in and out. Maybe he spent a night, but really nothing was supposed to be sort of a long-term recovery type of thing.
Sure.
So he went in the 22nd, and then 4 days later, he started suffering from an infection, having pain and nausea and this whole thing. So then he went back to the hospital where they are pretty good at fighting infections. They'll keep you on IV drips for a few days or a week to fight it, blah, blah, blah. He didn't tell anyone that he was going to the hospital, much less staying in the hospital for days on end. Now, of course, as we know through, some TV shows and some interesting happenings in the news a couple of years ago, when a high-level official like that goes to the hospital, if they're getting surgery, if they're getting put under general anesthetic, they need to, well, first let everybody know, and then the chain of command is passed on. If somebody's knocked out, especially the Secretary of Defense,
right.
The Defense Secretary,
Yeah.
while there's 3 major military stuff going on around the world that has to do with American, at least if not American national security, American interests. You're talking about Ukraine, you're talking about Israel, you're talking about Guyana. These things this is the type of stuff that the defense secretary has to be awake for. But he wasn't going under general anesthetic, so he thought he could kind of just slide by. And yeah, if something happened while he was in the operating room, he'll be awake and he can make some decisions while the doctor's doing his good work
Yeah, it's
on his
lower
prostate.
body. Yeah, lower body stuff. I can still use my arms.
Yeah, he could
Send a
plan a
text.
strategic military operation from the operating room. Well, so anyways, he does that, doesn't tell anybody. Okay, maybe you can pass with the no anesthetic thing. But then he goes back to the hospital, is in a hospital bed for like a week, told no one. The president didn't know, his deputy secretary didn't know, the person who would be in charge of, handling business while he's in the hospital. I think it's a she. She didn't even know until like 4 days in. For about 4 days, we just had no leadership for the defense secretary, at least whatever he's in control of. And then, bada boom, bada bing, whoopsie daisies. Now, here's the question. Why? Why did he not tell anybody? What would be so important that he not put someone else in control of while he's in the hospital? We've got multiple interests of, national interests, military operations going on around the world that could switch on a dime at any moment, although maybe not. Maybe that's what he's not afraid of. But why would he not want to put someone else in control? Not even the president. It's kind of got a strange 5D chess kind of feel. Like, maybe he's the last line of defense for some strategy that if he puts somebody else in charge, if he told Biden, would that give Biden the opportunity, or whoever wanted the opportunity to do something that Lloyd Austin would disagree with? Why did he need to keep it so secret? That's the thing that's really twisting me up.
Yeah, there's the war zone mirrored on Yahoo. The headline, I think it's more to some of the questions here. Does the president need the defense secretary to launch a nuclear strike? And that's the context there with, if a nuke situation either happened against the U.S. or, we're in a situation where we have to make a call, how important is Lloyd Austin's role? And, I don't know the exact, I don't think he is one of the ones that holds the key, but he's definitely, some of the quotes here from Bacon. Who's Bacon? Let me see. Who's the Bacon guy? Don Bacon, Republican from Nebraska, stated the SECDEF, Secretary of Defense, was in the ICU and his undersecretary was on vacation and the White House did not know for 3 days. Nuclear command and control is the #1 defense priority and it failed here. We want transparency and accountability on this. So
I don't trust it. I don't trust anything they say about this.
I mean, it just seems like, to me, theme-wise, distrust. Nobody trusts anything anymore, which is common. But I feel like they're really leaning into it now. And it's like, stuff like this happens. These are, technically, this could be seen as a weak point or a vulnerable time. Maybe a good thing nothing happened in the last 3 days, but, in hindsight, that could have been when our defenses were down,
Yeah.
Lloyd Austin in the hospital and Joe Biden taking a nap, and then we get hit by nukes.
Well, and the other part of it is what would he? In what way would this protect him if something was happening during this time? Let's say there was some sort of secret plan. Let's put on our conspiracy hats for a moment. If there was some sort of secret plan that needed to happen, and it needed to happen while a defense secretary, wouldn't be watching or wouldn't have the liability or something. It's almost like, hey, I didn't know this happened. I was in the hospital. blah, blah. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's almost like a look the other way type of situation.
Yeah, that's interesting too. Yeah, maybe he got tipped off that like something's going down. You need to stand down a little bit, just take yourself out of the, but I don't know. I don't know. That is very strange. Maybe he did tell somebody.
I don't know. I don't have any evidence to that. It just feels weird, It just feels weird. But I guess that's the whole point. That's why it's in the news.
Yeah.
All right, Gons. You know what doesn't feel weird? Art.
Yes.
Oh, and speak pipes. Do we have any speak pipes?
Actually, I think we played the pre-show prayer. So thank you to Anonymous for the pre-show prayer. You can go to let me see. Let me get the speak pipe jingle going here. Oh,
cool.
Oh, here it is. No, wait. Where'd it go? Oh, here
it's a jingle for the jingle.
Yeah.
Please leave a message after the tone.
At the tone, please record your message.
Leave a message. Beep.
Go to canarycrynewstalk.com. Look for the green tab on the right side of the bottom. Click on it. It'll open up a little window that allows you to record a audio message of up to 90 seconds. You can leave a pre-show prayer. You can leave a message to the Canarium. You can leave a private message for us. But if you do that, then please tell us at the very beginning of the clip that it's private, and that way we won't accidentally play it on air. Again, we had Anonymous come in with the pre-show scripture reading, so appreciate that. Thank you very much. Did we have any audio? I don't think we did today. At least
I don't recall.
Pretty sure.
Think so.
Yeah, I don't think we had any audio today. So let's go straight to the art.
One art, please.
And I think it's literally one art today from Sir
One
Dove.
art.
One art, please, from Dove.
And Dove has a note here that says, "Piece for today's artwork."
Yes.
Oh, hold on. I got two mouse. Here we go. For today's artwork, I made another thumbnail duo illustration. Thought this might encourage some fushigi juggling producers out there. What does it say? Once they see how cool they might look doing it. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for you.
That's right, folks. Fushigi juggling, the coolest looking sport and art you could possibly do. We've got a background image of what looks like Venice Beach, which is where most fushigi juggling happens in the world, I believe. And up front, right up front and center, we've got Basil and Gons, the Fushigi Masters. Now, a lot of people don't know what I'm saying when I say fushigi juggling. A lot of people heard me say fushigi juggling and then had to Google it, of course. But if you haven't taken the step to Google it for yourself, here it is. It's this art, this sport, I don't know what to call it, where you have a clear crystal ball and you kind of move it around on your body. You can make it look like it's floating, or you make it look like it's traveling around your arms, up and over your shoulders. It's kind of got a hint of like magic to it, like performance magic, a little hint of juggling. And because of that, it always demands that the fushigi juggler wears some sort of outfit, perhaps an outfit you would see at Burning Man or at a Renaissance fair. Either one would work. And on the left here, we've got Basil. Ooh, look at the smolder. He's got the magician's smolder, squinting his eyes. He's wearing a leather, no shirt, leather brown vest that has like 4 buckles on the front and a big collar. Very magician-y, very Renaissance-y, very Burning Man. Wearing a couple necklaces, of course, as every fushigi juggler must. Got the CCNT seal around his neck and a pair of googly eyes on a string. That looks like a supply drop piece of manufacturing that needs to be done immediately. But it's not just what he's wearing, it's what he's doing. And here, Basil is levitating the fushigi ball between his 2 hands, a feat that only the most expert fushigi jugglers can do. And a fun detail, which is this is part of why usually people on drugs like to watch fushigi juggling so much. is because it's, it's a crystal ball, and so the image is refracted through the crystal ball, so you get an image that's upside down in the crystal ball. Very cool, very trippy, dude. And on the right, we've got Gons, the Cabana boy himself. He's got a red leather headband on that has his little prayer hands there on it, of course. And you've got the same brown leather vest on. You've got a necklace of which we can't quite see, but you've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're doing some sort of fushigi trick that's stacking. Quad juggling 4 crystal balls. You look very intense. It's like you're sitting there waiting for applause, which, of course, you're at Venice Beach. You're going to get the applause. This is very good. This is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you, Sir Dove. This is now a treasured piece of Canary Cry culture.
Yeah, thank you, Dove. The fushigi just means strange in Japanese. You know that, right?
Well, it is that. That's true.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Sir Duff. Appreciate it. Okay, we also have a piece from Pizza Rat. This is another one that came in on the series there. This is the Face Like the Sun image.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. This is done in, I don't know exactly what he's using, but
crayon?
whatever is sort of, seems like a mixture of ink and like paint marker type of thing, or maybe watercolor marker. But yeah, it's got kind of a pencil vibe on it too. Well, anyways, we've got this image. It says "Face Like the Sun" down at the bottom in some gold, very digital looking font. We've got a background that sort of gradients from a black to a purple to a dark green, back to sort of a pink. It was very sort of ominous sort of feeling. And we've got an old style TV. This TV is on a TV stand. It's got the dial knobs. This is certainly not a TV that anybody born after the year 2000 would recognize. It's got the bunny ears, the antenna sticking out the sides. And on this TV, of course, is one single eye. And this eye has sort of fractally looking details, kind of like something you'd see painted on the side of a school bus that has been converted into an RV going to Burning Man. And protruding radiating from this eye, we have sort of a spectrum of colors shooting out of the TV and into the sky. You've got your purples, your pinks, your yellows, your greens, your other purples, your other blues, stuff like that. Very sort of Illuminati-y, but Face Like the Sun. I'm not sure if this is representative of Face Like the Sun, or maybe Face Like the Sun is revealing the truth of this Illuminati TV. I'm not sure, but it looks cool. Thank you very much, Pizza Rat.
Thank you, Pizza Rat. Appreciate it. And let's do a couple microfictions.
Microfiction. Scrolling.
Is
okay.
From Runk Smash.
Across a great expanse, the massive bird runs tirelessly beyond the packs of ravenous coyotes, through wolf-infested mountains, across a vast plain once again covered in behemoth bovine, and finally he reaches the towering edifices of the city. The Kevin is on his way. The superhero emus that are, for some, I don't know exactly what's going on, but surely he's doing this for the betterment of the Canarium. Thank you, Runk Smash.
Thank you, Runk Smash. Now we have something from Stefan.
Steven!
Chief, our sewer surveillance in high schools hit a snag. Girls go to the restrooms in gaggles, hence we can't identify any female individual samples. Scotland Yard deployed hidden cameras in Heathrow Airport water closets. He replied with a wink. This is regarding the New Mexico school system, who sewer surveilled 24 schools and found cocaine in all of them.
Yeah, they're showing some of the video footage from the article from KRQE. They had done some toilets flushing on loop. It's fantastic. All right, thank you very much, Stephanus. And I think we have one more from Jolmes. Is that
Yes,
right?
we do.
All right, Jolmes, Chapter 3.
Chapter 3, Veil. She fires. A piercing bright sphere of energy ejects from beneath the ship, speeding out directly ahead of her. She pushes the yoke forward, firing the thrusters one last time towards it. Her pursuers detect the enormous heat, turning to investigate. The thrusters die. Only inertia beckons her towards the expanding orb. The worm jump begins.
Excellent.
That's right. Thank you to all of our very creative producers. And folks, 2024 is your year. You don't need to be a professional. You just got to have the passion to get involved with the Canary Cry community. Help us build the culture no matter what you do. And we are still waiting for a fushigi juggling video from someone. Fushigi for the Lord, folks. It sounds like something, you know, if this was maybe 2005, you could get pretty good at fushigi juggling and then go on tour of megachurches and, you know, attach some sort of biblical meaning to your fushigi tricks. And you could perform for teenagers, youth groups around the country. Who knows? Maybe we're swinging back around to a time where that would be a viable career option, but you'll only find out if you learn to fushigi juggle and send it into us. Whoever does do this, and here's the thing, I want some quality fushigi, okay? But whoever does learn to do this will become some sort of legend. We'll be forced to make a Legends of the Canarium trading card that goes out about that person. But until then, whatever art you do, whatever creative outlet you have, create something for the show and then go to canarycry.art. At canarycry.art, you can upload your art and we'll feature it on the show. And if you have any articles you'd like us to explore, consider for the show, you can go to canarycry.report. Say it with me, folks. Canarycry.art. Canarycry.report. Those are your links to freedom.
Don't we have a jingle?
We do.
Yeah, what happened to it?
I don't know. Last time we did it, I said, make sure to keep this one up front.
Yeah, it was up front, and now it's not there anymore.
Sabotage. Maybe the SEC moved it.
They hacked my computer.
Yeah, you got to get that two-factor authentication on your jingle board.
Yeah. Basil, I'm looking at the clock.
Yeah,
it's a little.
I'm looking at the clock
late.
too.
A little late for me.
It's time to get going.
There was a Nephilim update. Why don't I just do it very quickly?
Just do it very quickly.
Do it super quickly. Here we go. Nephilim update.
Nephilim update. Nephilim update. Nephilim update.
This is coming. This is more your traditional Nephilim update. If you're new to the show, I know we had that big Nephilim episode last episode talking about the whole Nephilim Miami thing. But this one is MTGRocks.com. That's Magic the Gathering for those of you who don't know. The headline here, beloved 4-color creature cycle unlikely to reappear anytime soon.
Oh, no.
And this beloved 4-color creature is a Nephilim in the world of Magic the Gathering. And, I won't get into too much here, but I did find something interesting. This is what it says in the article. Unfortunately for Nephilim enjoyers, according to Mark Rosewater, there are no current plans for Nephilim to return. So I'm thinking...
Daddy?
So I'm sitting there going, we doxed Basil, or...
Crazy.
We found your brother or your dad or somebody.
Bizarro Basil, something like that.
Yeah. Mark Rosewater in charge of the Nephilim in Magic the Gathering. You know, it's a card game. It's, I don't know. It feels like we are... There's just the whole parallel universe thing is just a little too much for me. Parallel universe.
It's a lot. I know.
Stuck in your parallel universe.
My interdimensional Basil brothers are really, they're not being very responsible with their ability to phase jump through dimensions. I mean, it's been a long time. I mean, old school Canary Cry listeners, they've followed my journey through time travel and interdimensional travel, and that's stuff that's like a young man's game. You know, when I was 23, I was doing a lot of that stuff.
I like those Hasidic young men. The
Sure,
extremists.
it's just kind of like what you do. Tunnels through dimensions. It's just kind of a young man's pastime. But my interdimensional brothers or whatever they're not being so responsible. They're not
being subtle anymore.
Maybe they stopped doing the podcast. That's why they have so much extra time to continue to be interdimensional travelers. I don't know, but they certainly are getting in my face a lot.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. That's
Good
the
find.
show, folks.
Okay. All right, folks. Thanks for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Remember, you can support the babysitting efforts or support the show in whatever way you want. Your time, I was about to say your time, your travel, your talent, whatever it is. Your time, travel, your treasure, whatever it is. Go to canarycry.support to learn more. But I really encourage everybody. I know the inkling. There's a little feeling. There's a little nagging about producership. And maybe it's not about treasure. Maybe it is. Maybe that's your calling. But you hear me ask for people to make arts, and you hear for people, me asking for people to get involved, and you're like, yeah, maybe if, I don't know, it's a lot, sounds like work. I hear you, and I support you in whatever decision you make. But this is 2024. We might not have a whole lot of time left, folks. And not just here on Earth, perhaps, who knows, but also a lot of time to, not get kicked off the internet before it totally gets locked down. Not a lot of time to speak the truth before the truth police start showing up. Not a whole lot of time, maybe the cyber attack. Cyber pandemic will be problematic for this show. We know this. We're working on some backup plans. But, it is not guaranteed that you will be able to get involved, be a part of what's going on here later. So I encourage you, even if you just start the conversation, get in touch with us, make some art, doodles, it doesn't matter. Send it into the show, get involved. You can, again, canarycry.art or go to canarycry.support, scroll all the way down and fill out that form. And some people who did do that are the timestampers.
Timestamp, it's hard work. Timestamp.
Let's see if either Gonz or I remember to check the timestampers
Morgan
before
E.
this exact moment. Okay, thank you very much to timestamper Morgan E. Look at that. She's a double threat today, financial and time. We appreciate that, Morgan E. The timestampers are very important people. They do stuff for us that we could not do for ourselves, and it goes into so much of what we do on the back end and the front end, because these timestamps, they help people navigate the show.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Morgan E. Thank you to Jam for the links. Thank you to Clank for clanking. I saw there's an email from Clank. I need to read that. See you, Clank. And other than that, just share the show, friends. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Share it with your tunnel friends. We've all got some tunnel friends. Look, we all made some friends during college that lived in tunnels, dug tunnels, loved the tunnels. That's the things. Sometimes you go into the tunnel and you don't want to come out of the tunnel. The tunnel friends need to know what's going up here with the surface people. So go ahead, dig a little tunnel, throw the podcast down there, let it echo throughout the corridors of the massive labyrinthian tunnels that your college friends are still inhabiting. In a way, we admire the tunnel people, their ability to live a peaceful life underground without the worries of the upper crust of what's going on this planet. And yet, we still need to provide a view into the happenings up here on the surface. So tell your tunnel people, but other than that, just share the show. We call it Rattling Cages, and all you got to do is grab them by the cage and shake it.
Walk right up to them first, and then
we don't have to do that. We can just play the jingle.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right, just ask Noah. Gons doesn't get any last words because I am getting us out of here. Thanks for listening, everybody, to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But before then, until then, think outside the cage.
All right. Goodbye.
All right. Just going to let this track play quietly.
We're all gonna die.
For a while. It's just Gonz's favorite song. He just loves this song. He can't leave without the song.
This is the United States of America, for God's sake.
This is the way.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths.
Give me a break.
They love killing. This is the United States of America, for God's sake. Armageddon's on the way.
We will hunt you down and make you pay.
It will kill.
Toilets! Toilets! Toilets!
Feed him more. Feed him more.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
Value for value. We take no money from corporations, commies, or cartels.
Canary cry, that's suppose.